Hi everyone, I hope you're all well. Thank you very much for watching my last video. This is the second part to that video. It's going to be a bit shorter, but it's just wrapping up some of the main arguments that I was presenting about whether we can see the First Crusade as either an act of aggression from the Latin Christian Church and the papacy, or a defensive campaign against the Muslim world. So one of the main arguments for the defensive campaign is what happened in Piacenza in 1095, which I talked about in my last video, but I'll go into a bit more detail now. Alexios Comnenus I, who was essentially the leader of the Byzantine Church, sent a messenger asking the Pope and the papacy for help. He said that there were Turkish forces advancing across Asia Minor. I've got a map on the next slide I'll show you, and that they had come within striking distance of Constantinople, which was the seat of the Byzantine Church, which was a really bad thing, obviously. But he sent this messenger and asked for help in March of 1095. And Urban II didn't preach the crusade at Clermont until November 1095, 8 months later. So I'm not sure it can be used absolutely solidly as an argument for defense, because if it was, why did it take Urban 8 months to preach the idea of this military campaign? But as well as sending a messenger to the papacy, he also sent letters to all the major churches in the Western Christendom. And it's difficult to tell just how influential those letters were in spreading the call to aid, but it definitely would have helped Urban's proposal in November, because people would already have known about it, or at least the high nobility and leaders of the churches. So this is Asia Minor. Up here, that's Constantinople, where Alexios Comnenus would have been, or that's where he was talking about that the Turkish forces were in striking distance of Constantinople. He said that, so there we go, there's Comnenus there, the orange circle, and these blue things are the Turks. They're making their way across Asia Minor, and they've got to within striking distance of Constantinople, which is bad. We can kind of speculate that Urban recognized the relatively aggressive nature of the crusade. If he had meant it purely as a defensive campaign, I'm sure I can't say I'm sure, but we can speculate he would have done something sooner than 8 months after Comnenus asked for help. And maybe it was used as a political and religious kind of stepping stone to get more extensive papal control across the world, which is a possibility. So essentially, can we call it a defensive war? There's one historian who is very, very pro-defense. He's called Thomas Madden, and you can Google him if you like and see what he has to say about it. He writes a lot of articles for a website called Christianity Today, which I think is also a journal. But he said that it was a, quote, direct response to Muslim aggression. And there is some evidence of Muslim aggression towards Latin Christians, especially on pilgrimage into Jerusalem. We've got examples of records of some hostility that Christians faced in Jerusalem, but they're very low numbers, and we only know about them because they were so rare. It was something to report. It wasn't an everyday occurrence. So it's not like Christians couldn't go to Jerusalem. They definitely could, and they did all the time. Just on a very small minority of those times, they did face hostility. So immediately after Clermont, which again was November 1095, Urban left, journeyed south through France to continue kind of spreading the message of the crusade. From one of the primary sources, we can see kind of his journey. It says that he, quote, preached the crusade at Limoges at Christmas, at Angers and Le Mans in February 1096, and at a council held at Nimes in July. So while he was also doing other things like pursuing church reform, and he consecrated various different ecclesiastical sites, new churches, his main goal was to recruit for the crusade. And because we've got those primary sources, we can see that most crusaders did think they were doing the right thing. It was this crusade, this military campaign was ordained by the Pope, and therefore it was ordained by God. There was no doubt in their minds that this was a righteous, proper thing to do. It's only with the gift of hindsight that we can look back and examine whether actually it was an act of defense, a righteous, holy war, or whether it was aggression. And like I say, it is very difficult to establish that. The answer kind of changes whether you're willing to put yourself in the shoes of a late 11th century nobleman, or whether you're looking at it from nowadays. And that's difficult to do, but it's an interesting thing to think about. The answer does change, depending on which way you look at it. So like I said, contemporaries, that means people at the time, believed that the motivations for the crusade were honourable and that they were predominantly defensive. We can see that from the three main primary sources. But looking back on it, and again, this is the different answer, we can be quite sure that it was an act of aggression orchestrated by Urban II. And it was an act of aggression and war that set the precedent for nearly 3 centuries of further crusades, further bloodshed. And yeah, like I said earlier, we can kind of speculate that maybe Urban was using the crusade as a method to push out his control, to regain control of the Byzantine Church after the split in the mid-11th century. But it is a very interesting question to think about. And if you have a different idea, if you've heard of anything else that counters what I've been saying, please do let me know, put it in the comments. And I hope you enjoyed it. This is a period of history I'm very passionate about, and I think it's really interesting. And like I was saying, I think it is also very interesting to look at it from different perspectives, because you'll always get a different answer based on where you're looking at it from. Again, thank you very much for watching. I'll have another video up in the next few days, which is looking at a more localized area. I'm going to look at a medieval building in London, which is where I live, and I'll do a video of it there, and I'm going to travel to it and film it there. So I hope that you enjoyed that one, and I hope you enjoyed this. And again, please subscribe, like the video if you enjoyed it, and share my channel with anyone that you think would enjoy it. Thank you very much for watching.